Welcome back to Cryptos Are Us. I am George. We're all George. So, what's next for Bitcoin? We're coming into week 2. So, let's discuss what's going on with Bitcoin. And also, I want to give you guys an update on Cardano and Vechain and what you can do with your ADA and VET token while you're waiting. So, let's get started. As always, smash up the like, subscribe to the channel, 2 streams almost every day, 11:30 and 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure you hit that notification bell and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and check out all the latest news article guides at cryptosareus.com. Welcome, welcome, welcome. 888 people I see. That's a lucky number. All right, let's get started. All right, so right now Bitcoin is above 42,000, so a little more, I guess a little bit, it looks a little bit better. Let's just put it that way. I was go somewhere else, but it's okay. It's looking a little better. It's still hovering between this 42.5 and 41.1. Obviously, the fear level is not as great as when Bitcoin fell below to around 40,000 when the fear level hit 10, extreme fear. Right now, it's about 23, same as last night. Let me show you something interesting because I've already made this correlation many times, and that is when there is extreme fear, especially when you get down to about 10, that's usually a good sign of a reversal. Now, here's an index that actually plots that. So, visual view, and you can see that it looks very, very similar to Bitcoin's chart, right? Of course, you can see here, this is when Bitcoin fell down, like drastically down to about 4,000. This is when Bitcoin hit 3,000 something. This is when Bitcoin hit 30,000, 28,000. This is when Bitcoin hit 40,000, and this is where we are, Bitcoin hitting 40,000, 41,000, right? And you can see, whenever there's a lot of clumps of red, which is fear, and deep red, extreme fear, that's usually when the market turns around. Sometimes it stays there for a little bit, but you can obviously, the correlation, that's why I told you guys, when you get to that point of extreme fear, where you can't hold on anymore, you're at your breaking point because you just feel like everything is down the shitter and it's gonna get worse. Usually, that's when you need to hold one more day. And that's usually when things turn up. It's always like that. I know that sounds silly, but when it comes to crypto, I've seen way too many times where people have given up and there's just so much fear. And even myself, there's been times like, whoa, what is going on, right? And then you wait one more day and things get better. So it does look like things are getting better. There's a lot of movement with altcoins today. Bitcoin is above 42, and if we're using this as a bottom and top indicator, well, we are at that bottom right now. All right, so first I want to lead off with that, give you a visual look of what the fear and greed index and how it's a great bottom and top indicator. Also, I want to talk about this. Now, I've talked about, by the way, CryptoQuant rechanged their site, so it looks, there's more data, but there's 2 that I always get back to: reserve exchanges and net flow, okay? So you could see, this goes back all the way to when this first started tracking down in 2013. I was looking at this. Bitcoin's reserves on exchanges kept going up because the miners were mining and there was more being sold and then more being moved to the exchanges. But I decided to look at when exactly was peak, because you could see, right? Obviously, it did go up, and then it peaked, and ever since then, it's been going down, regardless of the price. When was that peak? And if you look at it, it's not a coincidence. That was actually March of 2020, when Bitcoin had that Black Swan event, okay? And that is when things started coming down in a big way. Well, actually, this didn't zoom out good enough. Let me zoom out. Let me try to do this right here, right? You could see that was peak right around 3 million Bitcoins on exchanges. And that was when Bitcoin hit 3,800. We had a Black Swan pandemic event, a lot of scare. And ever since then, Bitcoin reserves have been dropping. And I thought about it. Why? What's so significant about that? Well, it seems like there's some smart people out there, right, that thought about it. It's like, well, if the pandemic is going on and the government is probably going to react, there's lockdowns, there's quarantine, stores are being mandated to shut down. Obviously, the government has to do something right? Have to print money, give it out, sustain the economy. There's going to be a lot of printing, right? And since then, we know a lot of printing, a lot of buying by the Fed, and this is why the Fed minutes revealed that, okay, it's enough. They need to do something about it because it's just too much buying and inflation is going up too high, right? But it does seem like there's some people, and it could be the whales that already were in Bitcoin, or it could be the Michael Saylors of the world, or it could be the large institutions of Wall Street. They put two and two together. And ever since that moment, Bitcoin reserves have been dropping, regardless of the price. You could see even when Bitcoin went up to 64,000 and came down significantly to 28,000, the reserves barely moved up, barely. And since then, from 69,000, 68,000 to where we are, the reserve did not even move. It keeps going down, right? So ultimately, what this means is, like I've been saying, that there are a lot of buying going on behind the scenes. People are loading up Bitcoin now more than ever, regardless of the price, because they see it as the new gold, as the best hedge against inflation. But I just thought that was really, really interesting how the peak of Bitcoin reserves came the same day that Bitcoin had that Black Swan event, and when the whole pandemic thing was ongoing and when lockdowns started being announced, right? That very day was the peak of Bitcoin reserves. Just thought I want to share that, right? But going forward, I've been telling you guys, these guys are buying OTC. They're not buying on exchanges. A lot of exchanges does offer OTC sales. For example, Coinbase, they're one of the biggest ones. Gemini, Kraken, they all do OTC sales. So whenever a big institution comes in and says, I want to buy 100 million or $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, they'll take it off their exchange, sell it to them OTC, and that is why we see the reserves keep going down. Yet, you may be wondering why the price doesn't go up, because it's an OTC sale. It's actually off the order book. That is the reason why. So these big guys keep buying more and more and more, and that is why the reserves keep dropping. It just keeps going and going and going. And at a look at a shorter term time scale, since December, you could see that a lot of this red, this is all net flow in the negative. This is all showing that Bitcoin, yes, and you can see some of these big, large red candlesticks, right? These are all exits from the exchanges, and you see a lot more exiting right now than being put back in. So that is what's happening right now. So what's my point? Bitcoin is becoming more scarce each and every day. You may not notice it because of what we're seeing with price volatility on the order books of all the major exchanges. And yes, there's still some manipulation going on using derivatives. And yes, there is liquidations that does have a cascading effect sometimes. But ultimately what's happening is Bitcoin is becoming more scarce. The big boys, they just keep buying more and more. And one day, there's just not going to be much left around, right? So that's why you need to stay in the game. And here's something else. Entity adjusted dormancy flow, and this also measures basically the number of Bitcoins out there, the number of holders, right? And basically how long they've been holding, the long-term holders. And this measures against retail people coming in. And whenever retail people really exit out, the newcomers in the space get discouraged and they leave. Well, that's what this really measures. And you could see that every time retail pretty much leaves the market and all that's left is long-term holders, well, that's usually when it rallies around the corner. And you could see that's exactly what's happening right now, that this measurement is now in the green, and that green mark usually indicates a pretty good reversal is on its way. So this is something else that's measuring what's coming for Bitcoin. TechDev has also created this kind of interesting, showing the previous cycles. This is what TechDev does. Looks at previous cycles, equates to what we're going through right now. A little bit different, but he's basically saying that there are certain phases, right? Obviously, there are capitulation phases. There's black swan events, or just correction phases. And there's also bump ups, right? And we haven't seen that final bump up according to him. And then afterwards, we'll go in that consolidation and capitulation period where we do have coming down. But now that I'm seeing the bigger picture, I'm not so sure that this is the case. But hear me out. This is in a good way. Because all these cycles always go through the same thing. And there's this mentality that it has to stay the same. That we have to stay in this 4-year cycle. That we have to see about 2.5 years to 3 years of down, and then we have to see that 1 year up. Well, I'm here to say that this last cycle may be the last cycle, because we are now moving into year 5. We're out of year 4. And who's to say that we won't just keep going? We may have corrections, but who's to say that we can't have smaller corrections and then make a net leg up, smaller corrections, make another leg up, smaller correction, make another leg up, and we keep going. This whole notion of 4-year cycle goes away. Now, we do have the halving event, which still happens every 4 years. The next one is actually in 2.5 years, in 2024. But the landscape has changed completely for the better, and that is why maybe this last cycle is the last cycle that we'll ever see for Bitcoin. And that's actually a positive thing, a very positive thing. All right, so that's what I want to lead off with Bitcoin. Overall, this is a time where we need to stay together, we need to stay strong, and basically continue holding, right? If you have the ability to buy the dip, to DCA, well, of course, that is an option. But otherwise, you just continue to hold through this period. We will get through it. We always do. And there's a lot of interesting metrics that do show that a reversal is coming, right? All right, now, other things I want to talk about. Overall market cap in terms of altcoins I mentioned. Many are coming up today, right? Some big movers. Terra recently oversold, one of my favorite projects. And you guys know I've been staking on Anchor now, enjoying those 20% APYs. And it is up in a big way today. Also, Solana is recovering. I just talked about Solana, Avalanche yesterday, and both of them are doing fantastic. Look at it, Solana up 11%. Look at Avalanche up 11%, right? I talked about liking both projects. These days, I like Avalanche a little bit more because a little less VCs are holding. But overall, they're two of the big caps, and they'll continue to move forward. And there's many, many ways, not only to buy them, but also stake and get rewarded for staking. And that's the best of both worlds, right? So I covered that last night. If you didn't watch it, make sure you do so. But today I want to cover two other ones. Number 1, Cardano, and number 2, Vechain. So there's a lot actually going on with both of these. Big stuff that's coming. So I want to share what's going on, give you an update on them, and also, again, teach you guys how to hold even better by earning some rewards. Why not? Why not, right? All right, hold on. Let me see if I missed anything. Someone says, George, the turning of the internet off in Kazakhstan, which okay, yeah, many people have said it. I got it, right? It has maybe contributed to the downfall, but I don't believe that's the real thing. I think it's because the Fed minutes and hedge funds freaking out. That's the primary reason. All right, and then another question. I'm also staking on Anchor. What do you think will happen as the Anchor year reserves are decreasing? There's no worry about it, okay? There's still $70 million of it, and even if it decreases to a point where it's just not sustainable, the interest rate will just go down. It's that simple. And if you guys actually do some research into it, you'll see it's mostly because of there's other projects that's utilizing some kind of amplifier to kind of decrease it faster. But overall, the team has replenished before, and if they don't, then the yield will just go down. That's pretty much it. All right. So moving on, let's talk about Cardano. What's going on with Cardano? I don't need to explain Cardano to you guys. You guys know what's going on with it, but well, you guys know the project. It's one of the bigger L1s led by Charles Hoskinson. But this is interesting. The number of GitHub. If you look at the number of contributors and the number of activity on GitHub, Cardano is actually number 1 for 2021. That's actually interesting. Out of all the big chains out there, you got Polkadot, Kusama, Ethereum, Solana. Obviously, I mean, some of the big boys, Cosmos. You look down the list. Cardano led in contributors and activity, which is, yes, a little surprising. Also, recently, they made a huge partnership with Samsung. But before that, they made a partnership with Dish Network too. So I decided to look into what is this deal with Samsung. So Samsung partnered up with this other plant management system and Veritree, which is actually going to utilize Cardano and track the number of trees they plant. So they're going to use Cardano as a management system, right? That's pretty big, and Samsung is involved too because they want to be part of this. So that is what's going on. And of course, Cardano already partnered up with Dish Network, and this was released months ago. And this is where Cardano's going to provide digital IDs to users on the Boost mobile phone. And this is what they're using in Africa as well. So Cardano is making waves with corporate companies right now, and this will all add up in the future. Right? There's going to be a lot of users on top of Cardano. But in the meantime, what's really, I guess, what everyone is really waiting for, let me put it that way, is this. So SundaeSwap just announced, okay, that the mainnet for SundaeSwap will be coming out soon. They've done some testing with their testnet, and it seemed like things were smooth, although there was a lot of congestion, okay? Now, there was some congestion and some difficulties using the faucet because they had to give out, tokens for people to play with. But they're basically saying, hey, in the next few days, we're going to announce exact date of when we're going to launch, right? There still may be some hiccups because this is the very first launch of a smart contract-based DEX AMM on top of Cardano. So there still may be some issues right off the bat, but they are confident that they will get through it, and they've done a lot of internal testing and looking at some of the problems they faced before, and they think they have gone through it. So this could be absolutely huge for Cardano. I've been saying it. The reason why Cardano has not moved like all the others is because no one is really utilizing a smart contract. No one has really figured out how to use it. And SundaeSwap they seem that like they did. They figured it out, right? So if this goes forward and is somewhat smooth and they continue to make it better and better and better, well, this will help Cardano in a big way. A huge way. And from a staking perspective too. Because when you have a whole lot of ADA staked, right now there is a whole lot of stake, but if you have the remaining staked into liquidity pools, well, that's going to make it even better and more deflationary. So this is coming up short term. This is going to be absolutely huge for Cardano, and they said they will announce it in the next few days, so this coming week. Now, in the meantime, while we're waiting, I mentioned about a huge amount of Cardano being staked, because right now, what else can you do with it, right? Not a whole lot. So if you are a Cardano fan, then you should stake it. And the best way to stake ADA would be into a Cardano pool. And you can see very on top here, about 71% of all the ADA is staked right now. That is quite a lot. The remaining amount is probably on the exchanges, it's probably just on the exchanges, really. So that's how you're able to buy and sell ADA. But vast majority of it is staked. And if you want to know how to stake, let me show you. Right? First of all, in terms of staking rewards, it's about 5%, anywhere from 4 to 5%. So it's not crazy, but again, if you're holding ADA, why not? So one of the easiest ways to do it is through the Yoroi. I think that's how you say it. Yoroi wallet, which is basically a browser-based wallet. And you could see, you could get Chrome and Firefox. You could also get this on your phone. And it also works with Brave, because Chrome plugins also work with Brave. So I am using Brave and it does work. So basically it works just like all the other browser-based wallets. You download a plugin and there's a little, thing in your browser. But once you go in, you can see here, there's a number of things that you could look at. But if you go to the delegation list, this is where you can look at all those delegates and the pools and the pledge, and it gives you how much the rate is. Okay, so like I said, anywhere from 4 to 5%. Mostly they're around 5%. And it's easy as that. So as long as you have ADA in your wallet, you hit delegate, boom, you're done. You're done. Okay, so that's one of the easiest ways to do it. But also, because of the unique nature of Cardano staking, you could also do it while holding within your hardware wallet. So if you're using Ledger and you're holding ADA within, you could do so as well. Ledger makes it very easy that they have their own software, Ledger Live, so you could do it with Ledger Live, or you could connect it up with an external wallet and stake while still holding right inside your Ledger. So there's many ways to do so. And you know what? If you're a Cardano fan, right, you're holding ADA and you're waiting for SundaeSwap to come out, and you're waiting for Samsung and Dish Network and everyone else, well, why not stake your Cardano and earn 5%, right? Like all these other people. So there you go. There you go. Outside of that, there's some centralized options out there. For example, if you go to crypto.com, looking at it, you can earn 2% with Cardano. Okay, so that's obviously not as good as just putting in a pool. So why would you want to put it into a centralized place like crypto.com? It wouldn't make any sense. But for VeChain, actually, it does make sense at 2%. I'll get to why in a little bit. All right, so that's Cardano. Number 2 is, well, VeChain. VeChain Thor, right? So you guys know I've supported VeChain a long time. They have a lot of stuff going on. In fact, they have 146 partnerships as of today. And these are no light partnerships. These are some of the biggest companies out there in the world, including Deloitte, PwC, okay? Also Walmart of China, BMW, Louis Vuitton. The list goes on and on and on. I mean, H&M, and they partner up with some of the biggest utility companies in China too, and insurance companies. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, in terms of B2B, they have that covered, and it's in place right now. There's many videos. You go search on YouTube, people going to retail stores like H&M, and then you can pick up an item, scan a barcode using the VeChain wallet, and it'll tell you exactly where it's been and whether or not it's real. I mean, it's already out and operational. But here's the thing. All this is like B2B stuff, right? What about B2C stuff? Like, what about things relating to DeFi? Well, yeah, it's finally coming. So VeChain announced their very first stablecoin recently, VUSD. Obviously, this is going to be big in terms of developing that DeFi ecosystem, which is, I would argue, the hottest thing right now, right? What everyone is utilizing to make some serious money. And this will enable them to push forward with Web 3.0. So obviously, this was announced. This is coming. But there's other ways to take advantage of their DeFi right now. But not only that, B2C, besides DeFi, also expanding upon their NFT offerings, which they have a few right now. For example, VimWorld is my partner. They already came out. They have these Vims, very, very similar. It's like a cross between Axie and some of these other play-to-earn games where you can actually develop and nurture a Vim and of course you can sell it. There's a big marketplace for it, but they are building this out right now. Okay, they're building it out. But in terms of staking VeChain, it's about as easy as possible, but you're not getting much from it because you're getting about 1.1% and you're not getting VET back because VeChain is a dual token system where VET is the governance token and VTHOR is actually used for transactions. So basically, if you hold VET, you're going to get rewarded in VTHOR. And that's all you have to do. You don't actually stake. You just simply hold VeChain and you get it. And this is a big reason why you want to hold it yourself, not on an exchange. Because if you're holding an exchange, you're not getting it. The exchanges are keeping that. But if you hold it in your own wallet, well, then you're going to get it. And there's basically many different wallets. They have their own Sync wallet, which is a browser-based wallet. And as long as you have VET held in that wallet, that's it. You're getting VTHOR basically every single week, and you see it pile up. Otherwise, there's the VeChain Thor wallet, iOS, Android, and again, all you have to do is hold VET in there, and you get rewarded with VTHOR. There's no staking at all. Right? But it's a big reason why you want to hold your own VeChain so that exchanges don't just steal that away from you. Although some exchanges do give it back to you, but some are just keeping that for themselves. So why would you want to do that? You just want to collect that, right? Now besides just native holding VET, you can also put it into, or soon I should say, into these AMMs. For example, there is one that's called VExchange. They've been out for a little bit, but they just opened up their liquidity pools so that you can actually stake your LP tokens and add liquidity, although it's very hard to see how much. I did see this where if you do VExchange versus VET, you could gain about 66% APR, right? If you do contribute, and here's another one, WOV VET, for about 12.46%. So it's very, very early. They just released this not too long ago. And there is another AMM called SundaeSwap. And there's all these pools. But right now, it seems like they're providing their own liquidity. According to their Twitter, they will be releasing incentives and token economics in the following days. And this was about 5 days ago. So pretty soon, they're going to release this. So then you can also stake LP tokens and contribute to liquidity and possibly earn some pretty good rewards from it. But I did mention lastly with someone like crypto.com, right? If you do stake VeChain or just simply put it in there, you can make 2%, which isn't the greatest, but 2% is better than the 1.1%. So just to show you guys, there's another option out there. Okay, there's another option out there. All right, that's pretty much it. So that covered Cardano and VeChain. So while you're holding these two, why not earn some rewards, right? There's many things coming for both of these. Fantastic holds, fantastic buys, great DCA candidates. But while you're holding, why not earn some rewards? All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Now let's do some Q&A. All right, scrolling up. A lot of Cardano hate and a lot of Cardano fans. This is always the case with Cardano. You got one side that loves it and one side that hates it. There's like no in between, right? There's no in between. But I share my story about Cardano way too many times. So don't need to talk more about that. But Cardano is, despite all the FUD and all the stuff about it, it's sucking, it'll never be complete, it's a stable coin. Well, it's still holding the top 10. It's still holding the top 10. And when SundaeSwap is finally out and ready, it could be a game changer for them. And they already started moving on to their Basho era and and scaling, and that's going to be a big thing for 2022. All right. Okay, a lot of Cardano comments. Yeah, VeChain. I'm finally, finally seeing how they're making a big aggressive push towards DeFi. And that is something I think Sunday and team have just ignored far too long, because they thought that, hey, all the partnerships they have, right, will really push them forward. And right now, it is being used, right? But that is stuck. It doesn't have the DeFi aspect to it where it causes it to be more deflationary. So they're definitely looking into that. And I think the stable coin shows that they're serious about it and pushing more into consumer-based DeFi and NFTs. That's going to help them. Definitely help VET going forward. And keep in mind, VET is also deflationary. VET has a set supply. It doesn't inflate. VeThor does, but VET itself doesn't. So the more you lock up VET, the better it is. But that, the holding rewards of 1.1%, I don't know if that's going to cause people to really hold it. That's why you need like DEXs and AMMs and their liquidity pools to really cause people to lock in their VET. All right, let's see if I missed anything. Okay, I'm scrolling down. Zach, and a lot of people says Kazakhstan has contributed to a huge reason for a dump. I won't discount it, because when China kicked out the miners, I think that contributed greatly. But that was 50%. 50%. More than 50% at the time, right? Kazakhstan, I think it's about, people have said anywhere from 15 to 20%, right? So that probably did contribute. And if that's the case, I mean, the miners eventually will come out, right? If that's the case, if they can't settle down, it does seem like it's getting crazy in there. Eventually, those miners will move elsewhere, or the other miners pick up the slack. That's how it's always been. Let's see. What do you think is needed for a huge pump and gaining retail interest? The only thing retail cares about is price. Okay, that's the only thing retail cares about. So, what's going to gain their interest is Bitcoin starts pumping up. What's going to help Bitcoin pump up is these institutions that are holding. They continue to hold, they continue to buy. And, these hedge funds that recently have started getting rid of their risk-on assets and buying risk-off assets. They somehow associate Bitcoin and several others, like possibly Ethereum, as risk-on assets. But I think they jumped the gun. They were just too reactionary, right? I think that they're going to regret it and they're going to come back, while the true holders and miners and the institutions and companies that bought it for the right reasons or held it for the right reasons, they will continue to go forward. And as the supply drops and as people look for a hedge against inflation and realize there's none out there, they're going to turn back to Bitcoin. So that's ultimately what's going to drive Bitcoin back up and drive retail back. But in the meantime, what's helping greatly keep retail in is DeFi. And that's why I'm making a big push in 2022. DeFi, if it was not for DeFi, I'll tell you this, if it's not for DeFi, the market would be probably 75% worse right now. 75%, and that is no joke. The reason why the altcoins have not sold off 75% or more is because of this, because of DeFi, because of how much liquidity is staked in, how much people are making, and this is making them hold. This is making them hold. This didn't exist in 2018, 19, and much of 2020. So whenever Bitcoin dipped, everything dipped much more than Bitcoin. But that's not the case anymore. Things are more in line. And some DeFi projects, I should say some L1s, the network protocols that's hosting these DeFi projects, that have their tokens locked into these DeFi projects, they're holding, and some are holding even stronger than Bitcoin. And this is the reason. And this is going to be the future. I honestly think if there was no DeFi, like if DeFi wasn't what it is right now, all coins would be 75% discounted, 75% lower than what it is right now. Crypto for everyone. What to prefer, George? Bitcoin to couple from traditional market but volatile, or couple with more stability and maybe better for adoption of newbies? You know what? I don't know. You know, when you have true decoupling, it's not always good too. Look at gold. Gold is supposed to be decoupled away from equity market. It's supposed to be a hedge against inflation. It's not supposed to follow anything, really. It's supposed to be a risk-off asset, actually, so that hedge funds and everyone else is supposed to be buying gold. Is anyone buying it? No. It lost in 2021. It lost for the last 10 years. So true decoupling may not actually be that good. I think some correlation is good, but ultimately people need to see why they are buying in. They're not just buying in alternative gold. They need to realize why Bitcoin is better and why they should hold it. So I believe Nexo is worth being mentioned when talking about CeFi staking lending options. I have looked at them. Here's the thing. Their rates look very, very good, except you have to basically hold a whole bunch of Nexo tokens or get rewarded in Nexo tokens. I'm sorry. Otherwise, their rates are just kind of middle of the pack, right? But I think they're one of the big three. Obviously, you have BlockFi, Celsius, and Nexo. They've all been around for quite some time. Nexo is not based in the U.S., overseas, but that's okay. But their rates are kind of like middle on the line, unless you're getting rewarded in Nexo tokens, which then the rates gets pushed up. But then, you know, if the Nexo token, drops it by a significant amount, then it removes that advantage. So just got to keep that in mind. All right. Felix asks, "What do you think about LTO network and they're pushing NFT?" I think that they're kind of like VeChain. They were very B2B, and they realized they need to go more into consumer stuff. So yeah, they released a roadmap for NFT 2.0, and they're going to try to do some interesting things with NFTs, right? But I think going to DEXs would probably be my priority if I had to choose. Hey, get into DeFi or get into NFTs, I'd say go into DEXs. NFTs will come and go. There's a lot of speculation, but it's oversaturated. There's too many. Every single day I get pitched like 4 new collections. People don't know what to think about them anymore. There's just way too much. I think it's much better to concentrate on games, play-to-earn games, metaverses, and of course DeFi. Just going straight into NFTs, I'm not sure that's the right move anymore. Let's see. What about Kava? I haven't kept up with Kava recently. I mean, they were a huge DeFi kind of ecosystem built within Cosmos ecosystem. So they're a combination of everything. They have lending and borrowing and pools and I mean pretty much everything. And I thought they would take advantage of being kind of like the first player on Cosmos or within Cosmos ecosystem, but I don't see them really talking about it at all. Like they don't want to be that for some reason. I don't know. Cosmos, Cosmos' DeFi ecosystem is still lacking. That's one of the reasons why I think they haven't shot up, because they only have a couple of DEXs and one that's kind of like half done. So I think more DeFi projects within Cosmos will definitely help carry it forward. Ben asks, are we seeing that reversal? We may, right? It's anyone's guess right now, but we have come down quite a lot, 50% in fact, from our previous high. A lot of the indicators that I've been showing you guys continue to say that the top is not in, and there's a lot of reversal indicators. And today I showed this one, right? The fear index, but plotted out, and you could see all the major drops for Bitcoin are in extreme red, right? When there's extreme fear, that's usually when things turn around. And it could have been that 40,000 that we just hit recently. That could have been the bottom, right? So we'll just have to see this coming week. I honestly think that, you know, the hedge funds, they overreacted. They overreacted to the minutes, and yeah, I think they're going to regret that. Most hedge funds lost. They lost against the S&P. Many of them were in negative, and they all lost according to Bitcoin. So if they want to make their 2022 books look better, they should all be buying Bitcoin right now, especially when it's a slow, because if Bitcoin rallies up significantly in 2022, it's going to make them all look like geniuses. So space tokens, I have no idea. I think that's a joke. Voyager takes your VThor. Yeah, you know, see, unfortunately, that's the thing with VeChain and VThor, right? If you hold VeChain in a wallet that you control, you're getting rewarded in VThor. It's just popping up in your wallet, right? But a lot of these exchanges, they take it. You know, they take it away from you. So it's a reason to hold your own VeChain. All right, guys. I'll let you guys go. Overall, today is looking better. Bitcoin's back above 42,000, but many L1s are starting to come back significantly, so that's good. But obviously, there's a lot of discounts out there still. So a lot of really great projects that you could buy for cheap right now, right? So I still remain bullish. I say, hey, still a great opportunity to buy the dip or DCA, or continue to hold because greater things will come. But today, I want to talk a little bit more about Cardano and Vechain to help you guys get more educated and get some rewards simply by holding. DeFi is definitely here to stay, and it's the future. It's the future. All right, smash the like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right, have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.